I want to take this opportunity to talk about the artistry in Kubera because it's a talking point that I think is prominent amongst the community to some degree, and something that I see as like a negative that people like to use to kind of take away from the series. And I will say this before I kind of hop into why I love the artwork of Kubera and why I'm a fan of progression. I will say this: I do think out of all the things that make Kubera great and wonderful, and trust me, that list is plentiful, bountiful. I have so many superlatives. I've run out of superlatives to describe this story from top to bottom. I do think that the overall artwork is probably the thing that's the least impressive about it. But let me talk about why I still think it's very good. Y'all talking time just tick away. You ain't clocking hours on the day. All that watch is stopping what you claim. Dollar crosses Rio got me name. Hoping God just get me out this game. I do think that webtoons, generally speaking, especially a lot of ones from Korea, where there's like fighting and stuff. Not that this is a romance fantasy, okay? I didn't forget. I know Kurigama. I know what this is. I know what I'm reading. I do think that they have a lot of flair and spectacle to the art. First of all, it's in all colors. For the people who are kind of used to manga, they're like, okay, it was colorful on a week to week basis. There's that. And while it kind of follows that long strip format for the most part, for most of them, I would honestly argue that a lot of them have a lot more visual flair to it. Think about something like Solo Leveling that a lot of people really like. Like, yes, I do think Solo Leveling, especially from an action standpoint, is much better illustrated than this. I do think a lot of the ones that are like Tower of God, the combat and everything and the way that it's illustrated is very good. But even SIU, I think, got a lot better. I don't think he was the greatest artist in his first season, but there was progression. And one thing that I'm going to give Kurigam to me is the progression. That says a lot to me. You are not trying to be carried by the thing that makes your story good, which is the writing. The writing is good. Does she lead into that? Absolutely, because that is her strength. But she's not letting that carry carry the art in the sense that she's constantly improving the visuals from just a technical standpoint, presentation standpoint, and I would argue that a lot of the action scenes and sequences and clashes and confrontations have gotten progressively better from even the moment season 3 started, and we're seeing Lee's use the Golden Knight transcend sorry the golden not the Golden Knight transcendental I'm sorry the sort of the end transcendentals, and then blocking stuff, and then seeing some of the big Sora kaiju beast like action happening, becoming shooting more like I think the actual display of the art has been really good throughout the third season, a lot better than the previous two, and I do think that it'll continue to get better. There's a lot of instances where I think, yeah, sure, in this moment, Kurigama is leaning to what her strength is, and that is her writing ability, which is literally top. I haven't read anything online on Webtoon at the very least that's touching it. But what I appreciate is like, I feel like, someone like Tagashi would just like not draw, just not fucking draw, and just put a bunch of goddamn text on there because he knows people are like, oh yeah, I like the writing, and she's like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm still going to improve on the thing that maybe is I'm not the best at, which is my illustrations and my artistry, and I fucking respect that. Unlike that bum Tagashi. So, mad props to her for that. The fire displays, the beauty of the characters and how they are looking constantly portrayed in panel from moment to moment. I think the way that she expresses the characters' expressions when they're like making those like comedic faces, or like those "Are you really serious, dude?" or like "I'm shocked and surprised." I think that matters. The artwork is very vibrant, and if you can make very expressive art, I like that. There's uniqueness here. I think that, you can go with the whole beauties in the eye of the beholder thing, so there's no true objective beauty. I don't necessarily disagree or agree with that, but I do think that you have to look at the charm and things that this series has on its own, and I think that the facial expressions when they decide to actually really emote them is extremely, it's vibrant. I like it a lot. So, in my opinion, the artwork is not bad at all. And I think throughout the third season it's been a lot better on a consistent basis. And I think the action sequences and the combat has been a lot better in terms of how she's showing it, the action, the movement, the kaiju battles, getting bigger than the earth, shooting beams down on it, all of that. Crazy good. Plus, I have to give her major credits for the credit for the environments
that she creates, like Cali Bloom. All of these cities, Altera and everything, are beautiful. Man, these environments are crazy. Seeing the ancient human cities, like you have to look at the background and take in like the environment too and everything. I'm very impressed with like the locations in which we visit and how they are shown. I think that's something she's really good at. So you kind of have to look at it from all aspects. You have to look at it from all vantage points. You can't just be like, oh, I guess these 8 series I like have better artwork from top to bottom, and that's okay if you believe that, but you can't just use that as the only metric to kind of judge the artwork here. It's still very good, and at the end of the day, it continues to get better. And what more could you really ask for? It's like, okay, you're not that great at shooting 3-pointers. One year you shoot 25%. Oh, hold on. Next year you shoot 30. Oh, now you're shooting 35. Oh, now you're shooting 42% from 3. That progression is amazing. We always appreciate that. We always love to see it. And that means that you are serious about your craft, constantly working on it and trying to improve. And that to me is enough. At the end of the day, I will admit that the writing is good enough that if this just became a novel out of nowhere, I'm gonna keep reading it. And if maybe like the illustration still stayed kind of season 1-y, I would still be reading it. That's how good the writing is. But tired of hearing people kind of talk down the artwork. The artistry is still very, very, very top notch.
In my drugs, pour it in my cup, sitting in my darkness with my ghouls, we pouring up. I don't really give a fuck, I don't really have a say. You tell me that I suck until you get up out my face. You got tears in your eyes, looking like a fool.